Good afternoon. Today is July 13th, 2020. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. We tell the stories that inspire. My name is Tamara Hunter. I am your host, and let's do this. Today we have the one, the only Rosie Aiello. I am so thrilled to be sharing her story today, to be highlighting her as the service hero we all know she is. Her story is absolutely, let's just say, it's one of those stories, once you hear it, you'll never forget it. She is helping others to be able to find the strength within them to understand something that we should know, but too many don't, and that is love is kind. And today we are going to be talking about the second annual Love is Kind Day that, as I was sharing earlier on my walk today, that I'm so excited about, because yes, it is on the same day that was my mother's birthday. So it will always be a special day for me. All right. Welcome, Rosie. I'm so glad you're here today.
Oh my gosh. It's always a thrill to be with you, Tamra.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I want to recognize those that are here right now. We have many of the, if you will, tribe, the community that are with me at Chemo Buddies for Life. Gotta let them know this is going to be an incredible show, and others it looks like are coming. And so I want to recognize Skip Thomas. I'm so glad you're here, my dear. One of my board members. We have Helene Wilson, who is the ambassador of our chat, and one of my buddies. I'm thrilled that you're here with us. She's saying hello to everybody and welcoming you. We have another one of our ambassadors of the chat. That is Rachel Johnson. My dear, I'm so glad you're here with us. We have one of our senior ambassadors, Sherry McQueen. Sherry, you're going to be, I know, as deeply touched in today's story as I always am. We met each other in San Diego. And I'll never forget it, because your daughter and I were on a team and we were doing some kind of work. And all of a sudden she grabs my hand. She says, "You got to come meet my mom." From that day on, I just was absolutely in love with your daughter, and you also, just the two of you. But it was just one of those moments in time that I wish I would have had like one of those GoPros or something on my head. Like I could have had it, as a memory, because it was just one of those, just like, she wasn't thinking. It was just so spontaneous. It was so full of love. It was so, come with me. And she's amazing, your daughter.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then from there, I remember talking to the two of you, and I'm like, Tamara, don't be rude. Because you have quite a story. And let me just tell you guys, she's been writing a book, and it's written now, right?
Well, we're still, I think we have a couple more chapters to do, but I mean, it's like 90% done. But, I find that the memoir is just telling me when it's ready, when it's not ready. I didn't know that books talk to you, but I'm finding that they do. It's like, yeah, we're just not ready. This is not the time to publish. And I think we have another little bit more to add. And, learning to surrender. And it's like, okay, it's not ready. It's not ready. So, yeah, we're just refining it. And, 11 Hours to Freedom. It's our journey of escape, healing, and this journey of helping other women.
And, I'm getting the goosebumps already, because I know where we are and where we're going in all of this. And this is something that, guys, hold on to your seats, hold on to your caps if you want to also, because trust me, I mean, this is stuff that many are going to say, okay, if you can't relate, you're going to go, wow. If you can relate, you're going to be so much more inspired by this story. And in truth, I can relate. We've talked about this. We talked last year about
Yep.
this very openly. It was
Yep.
one of the very first times that I had really on your show ever shared my particular story of escape.
Yeah.
And anybody that has one that you've gone over a border of some type, you understand the absolute fear, yet the excitement, yet the, oh my goodness, there's so much. No wonder the book is talking to you. It's like, okay, yeah, we want to get this message right. And you you are American, right? Born and
Yes.
raised here in the United States.
California.
California, Northern California, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And you met someone and decided to get married, and then you ended up going to another country.
I did. He's Lebanese, and we first moved to Saudi Arabia, and we lived there, and that's where my daughter was born. We lived there for about 12 or so years, and then we moved to Beirut, Lebanon, where he's from. So I lived in the Middle East, about 25 years, not quite, but all told, it's. So it was, and I was willing to go.
Right.
Willing to leave my family, my friends, my career. I had a great career in Silicon Valley and left it all.
And it was of your own free will and choice. You went, it was, I've gotten to know you now, and I'm thinking, yeah, look at that red. That, it's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's go have an adventure. Let's go live large. Let's go figure out what this other area of the world has to offer. You get there. When did things start to show their true colors of what you were going to be looking at?
From my relationship point of view with him, well, it's interesting, Tamara. Of course, hindsight is great, and the knowledge that I have about what it is great, because I was married 18 years before I even knew of the word domestic abuse or violence. I didn't know what the vocabulary was. So really, I even remember on our honeymoon. No, I remember even before the honeymoon. I remember during our reception. I will never forget it. It was the time for our dance. It was our time for our dance, and he was talking to some people, and I was, talking to some people, and then we had a DJ, and he says, probably should do it now. I go, oh, okay, and so we had picked out a song. We kind of practiced to it, and I got his attention, and I said, it's our time to dance, and he just turned and he gave me daggers. Like, it was kind of like, don't bother me or whatever.
Right.
So he came, and I remember as we were dancing, I just felt such fear. I felt such sadness. I was holding back tears.
Right.
Holding back the tears and smiling.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
And then on our honeymoon, he then he insulted my dress and my hair and everything. Well, I just have to tell you the truth, and so then it became just a roller coaster of just, happy times and then putting me down, happy times and putting me down. So my head was just constantly getting whipped of who am I and what's going on. We know they have these dual personalities that they're really great.
Charming, and like the one that everybody thinks, oh, aren't you the luckiest person that you are with this person? And that is not an uncommon trait in that type of a situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I didn't have this picture. I had never seen this picture. I was like, wow, that is like the coolest picture. I'm going to bring it up in just a moment.
Let me see. What did you find?
And this one.
So that is actually, that's my goddaughter.
Oh, so this isn't your daughter.
It's my daughter, but it's my goddaughter, and I love her.
Because I was like, oh, that's got to be the two of you.
Yeah,
Okay.
She's a real sweetie, and she's a dynamite girl. Well, so I'm proud of her too.
Good. Well, okay, so let's just say you have your daughter. You are living in Lebanon when she's born, and
we're living in Saudi Arabia when
Saudi Arabia, and then you go to Lebanon. Mm-hmm. I remember in the story, and correct me if I'm wrong, and that is that you were living a pretty decent life. You had, a lot of people taking care of the home, and cooks and chauffeurs, and just, anything that you needed, it was there. It was provided for you. And for some people would think, oh, that is so cool. But I remember as we started talking about this, it started to become almost like a part of the prison, right? Because they were there, they were watching and that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
So in Saudi Arabia, women are not allowed to drive. They weren't. They just got it 2 years ago or something, or a year ago, the ability to drive. So I was not allowed to drive. So I had a driver. So I don't call him a chauffeur because it brings him way up to, an elevation that really isn't what it was. It was just functional. Right. But again, I didn't have my freedom to drive, right? I was used to working independent. I had a lot of independence. So I had to use a driver to get around. And we had a live-in help because just about everybody in the Middle East does. Even your average middle income family do. So it's nothing extraordinary there, where it's very unusual here. And it took me 5 years to get used to somebody living in my house. I really didn't like it. So I couldn't drive. I would stay in my bedroom, it's like, well, I can't go out in my bathrobe or whatever. And so, there are all these little pieces, like you were saying. I couldn't go out when I wanted to. I had to figure out how to live with somebody in my house. So I was already making, my own world a little bit smaller. And then, then his words, and then I could see who he kind of introduced me to. And then as I was trying to create my own world with American friends or other women of different nationalities in Saudi Arabia, he would just make it difficult. Like, why are you leaving me? Right. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have left everything, all my family, all my friends, my career, and I can't even make a friend without feeling guilty about it.
And so your daughter went through the school system there, and she's quite bright. She's amazing. Just a beautiful soul, amazing, loving woman. And so you get through the regular school, and you see that she is very bright and intelligent. And there was a time and a choice that you had to make, right? Because I remember you were talking about if I stay a little longer, then she'll be able to do this, because by then you were at a point where you knew that the jig was up, that there had to be changes. Yet you also knew that you would have to escape because you would not get any kind of a custody situation of your daughter, right?
Exactly. So what happened is that in the Middle East, Lebanon, custody automatically goes to the father. There are no custody battles. There's no custody going to court or something. That's just what it is until they turn major at the age of 18. So I chose, this was, my full choice. I chose to stay until she turned at least 18. And mind you, only 2 years prior. So when she turned 16, that's when I found a book. When we had gone to the States for a visit, I saw a book, and then I read it. It's like, oh my God, this is my life. And then all the pieces started to come together. So I was married 18 years before I even knew I was in an abusive relationship.
And
Everything
that's
I've
not
been
uncommon.
doing.
Sorry to step on your words, but I'm just going to, when people are listening to this right now, I want them to also understand that that is not an uncommon
No.
thing.
Yeah.
Not uncommon. That when you're in the middle of it, you don't know necessarily you are. And if anything, you think it's your fault or that you're
Right.
taking that ownership of whatever is askew. And you are an intelligent woman,
Right.
you know, and had a very, very good career. You chose to go there and you didn't even know.
No, and very, very few, no woman knows, because you're not going into a relationship, into a marriage expecting that. No one's been trained to fight abuse like soldiers are trained to fight the enemy. We're not trained for that. We're not looking for that. And all the women I've been talking to, you know, I interview women all over the world, and they have the same experience. And one woman, a couple of women, when they hear me speak, especially she was married. She was divorced 12 years, and she didn't know she was in an abusive relationship till she heard me speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And another woman was leaving her relationship. She was already getting on the process of getting out of it, but she didn't know it was an abusive relationship till she heard me speak.
Right.
So when you don't think it's an abusive relationship, all of it goes to self-blame, self-judgment, and why couldn't I do better? And of course, you know, that's what we do to ourselves, right?
And we're told.
Yes, and we're told.
And we're
And he
told.
blames us.
Yeah. Because, I mean, anybody that's been in this situation is saying, wow, this is hitting home. I want you to right now breathe. Because it may be a tough thing to be realizing even at this very moment in time if your aha moment is right now. Mm-hmm. Because there are so many out there, and this is why we are having Rosie here today, is to let you know that there are others. There's a full movement. There is your goal of 100 million women throughout the world being able to say, sister, I got your back. Sister, I'm here for you. We are here together. We are going to heal through this. And so if you're hearing this right now, I want you to breathe, and I want you to just, you know, stop whatever else you were doing and sit down and just open up your heart and your mind, because it might be a little bit rough here going forward. And I just wanted to let you know that we're here with you. So now, as you're there, you're looking at your daughter, you've read this book, the aha moments. Now, if I remember right, when you went back home, again, up in the Northern California area, your family in particular, isn't it your brother that really helped a lot, right? And there are those that that whenever you have this kind of situation, you have to have people you can rely on to a point where you can rely with your life.
It's really, it's very, very difficult.
Right.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of fill in the gap for your listener that, so we had moved to Lebanon. And it was when my daughter, remember I said I committed to myself that I would stay till she was at least 18. So when she was a junior at the American University of Beirut, so she was 20 at the time, that's when she came to me. She was living at home, but it's when she came to me and she begged me, take me away from my abusive father. And so it was from that point, it was April 2009. And it was in that point, I had 4 months to plan the escape, or I decided to plan escape. I mean, you know, it wasn't like I was thinking about it.
No.
I took action immediately, because I had been waiting for years for her to say, is it okay now? I would have never left without my daughter. Never in a million years.
Yeah. No. And and so you had, what were the first things that you did from that point on? She comes to you, she says, Mom, take me away, we need to get out of here. What were your steps? What were your initial steps?
So I told, I needed help. So let me say, up until that point, when I read the book, I told 3 people, my brother and my 2 best friends in the United States. So out of, 20 years or so of almost 23 years of plus marriage, only 3 people knew, and they only knew in the last few years of my marriage. Mm-hmm. When I was going to plan the escape, I go, I need people in Lebanon. So I told 2 American friends, one married to a Lebanese, one married to somebody else. And because I needed their help. So 5 people, 5 people, in 25 years knew about it. So this is another thing that happens because of the shame you hold back.
Yeah.
So I told them, and I started to slowly pack up things. I don't even know how I did this, because I wrote 40 pages. Obviously, 40 pages will not go into the memoir of the steps that I did. But the first thing I took were the photo albums of my daughter. All the years I did, that was the first thing I took.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, we were in Lebanon obviously at this point, and I am in the guest bathroom, which is where I had my office as well. And I got boxes from the grocery store and went in there and locked the door and started packing up things. Now, I want to set the scene here of how it is. One, he doesn't, I have to be able to get out of the house without him questioning me. We have a live-in maid. She can't know about it. No. We don't have electricity all the time. So when we don't have electricity and we're on the 4th floor, I can't bring down the boxes. And then I have to make sure that we had a small condominium building that nobody in the building would see what I'm doing and asking. Then I had to stick them in the trunk, and I had to drive into one of those girlfriends of mine. And I did that for 4 months.
Yeah.
And on a scale of 1 to 10 for stress, it probably was like 110.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And anybody that is listening to this that has a similar story, they most likely have a similar story. And, and so, and yeah, your heart is in your throat. It is very stressful. And we're going to go into this piece in just a moment. So what was your when you were actually able to then go, how did that work? How did you do it?
Okay. So, so we would, as a family, because I'm from California, right? And we met in California. We met at UC Berkeley. So we as a family would come every year to the United States so I can visit my family and on our mutual friends and things like that. So if anybody has read the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, they'll know he escaped in plain sight.
Yes.
He got naked and buried himself with the dead bodies inside, among the dead bodies in the truck, and was able to escape. So we escaped with him. Mm-hmm. So he was right there. We were on the plane as if we were taking our regular vacation. Mm-hmm. And when we had to pass through Paris because there are no direct flights from Beirut to the United States, then it was Paris to San Francisco, where I was going to. And the whole time, as you had mentioned earlier, I was coordinating with my brother. My brother was my brain because it was pretty fried. Mm-hmm. And we kept changing the how we were going to meet him. Because what I knew about my husband is that he would not make a scene in public. He didn't like to be. He could do it to me, but not about him. So I knew he wouldn't want to do anything. So, my daughter and I are sitting in the plane looking at each other and then looking at my husband and like, we know what's coming down. And he has no clue.
Right.
No clue what's happening.
Right. That is, and again, anybody that's been there, that time right there, you're thinking, can he see it in my face?
Yeah.
Am I sweating?
Yeah.
Is
I'm breathing too heavily. He's
right,
gonna get
right,
upset.
everything, because they're so hypersensitive to everything.
Yeah.
And so you're on the plane, you get to the airport.
And the thing that kept me going through the 4 months was my daughter and I deserve a happy life. I have one life to live, and I am going to live it. I don't have to be a martyr. And that was my mantra. I didn't even know about mantras. I didn't know about personal development. I didn't know anything. But those I created, and it kept me alive. It kept me on that path. So now we're landing, in San Francisco airport. Now there are things that happen in the airport. I won't get into the details, but then I knew exactly where my brother was going to be on the other side of the gate. It wasn't like I had to look for him. I knew exactly where he was going to be. The gates opened up. My daughter and I both had luggage carts because we had luggage, and we take our luggage carts and we just move them behind my brother. And then my brother goes and tells him, Rosie's upset. I mean, I couldn't tell him. I couldn't even have my brother tell him that she's leaving you. I had to have a lot of psychological support and be able to voice that, right? And she needs some time away from you. We turned our backs and walked out, leaving him standing alone, stunned in the middle of the busy airport.
Every time you say that right there, I am feeling it in my stomach. I'm feeling it once again, that whole thing. And I'm thinking, yes, yet I'm also realizing what you were feeling at that very moment in time. How long did it take for you to finally, feel as though you weren't looking over your shoulder, that you could breathe, that you could sleep, that you could, eat? I mean, because anybody that's been through this, you understand that this is a full body experience.
Yes, it is. And, and you touch on such an important subject, because, and I've been writing about it actually, lately on the freedom, talking about freedom the whole month of July. Because the first and really the easiest step is getting your physical freedom.
Right.
The rest is getting that personal freedom, the freedom in your mind. We were both diagnosed with severe PTSD. My daughter has complex PTSD and depression and anxiety. What happens, in these situations is very challenging. And so I've done a lot of care for myself and support. But you probably left so much behind, though valuable. Freedom, there is no replacement for your own personal freedom.
Right.
No replacement. The other things are just stuff. I mean, just stuff. In the beginning, I thought, oh, I'm not taking this. I mean, what I took were mostly my clothes and just a few, like the albums and things. It really wasn't much stuff, and a few little knickknacks from trips. But the freedom of your own self, of your own agency. We're not on this earth to be dominated, controlled, have power over us. Nobody is. That's, it's what I talked about for the July 4th, the Independence Day for the United States. Tomorrow is the Bastille Day for the French. We all have it because we're human beings, and this is not what we're born for. Not at all. But to have the inner freedom, I think, is a lifelong journey. And there's many steps to it. Many steps to it. So yes, I have a lot of freedom now. I look out my window every day, and I'm grateful for my freedom. I don't take it for granted any single day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And okay, I had to ask: are you in your she shed?
Oh, yes, I am, dear.
I am so excited you got that. I was so excited. I was like, yes, if anybody deserves that, it's you.
Yeah,
so cool.
And I'm in my lioness den, and the love of my life that I've been with for several years now, and I built this place.
Yeah.
And and I think that's the other thing, is to know that when I first arrived, I couldn't even stand to look at another man. I mean, literally, it would just traumatize me. So I've come a long way. And to feel such kindness, such thoughtfulness, peace, love, and joy every single day means it is possible. And if you stay in those relationships or you think you can't move forward, it's just stories that are in your mind. That's the prison now you're keeping in your own mind that you need to release. That's the key, right?
Right.
That's the key that we all work on. And of course, and I help my clients with, because I'm obviously so passionate about this. And I mean, the guy is just, he's my heaven on earth.
I love that. I mean, that's the icing on the cake, if you will, because it's to get the freedom and to have your daughter free, to have you free, to be able to live your life and go forward. That in itself is such an amazing accomplishment. And yes, we should have that in our lives. However, it's not a perfect world, and a lot of people don't. And yet it is possible. The piece that now I want to go into right here, and okay, this is just too cute. I was like, oh yeah, I can relate with that guy here. Because self-care, we need to have that self-care, and in particular, in truth, again, self-disclosure, once you've been in this kind of a place, it's easy for us to sometimes go back into that stinking thinking. That because if you were there for any length of time, then it's almost as though, oh, the sacrifice, the this, the that, that's what I'm meant to do, right? And I love your cup. Very cool. Very cool.
I gotta get that.
Yeah, I love that. I found that. I was like, oh, I love it. And this is where we need to always be thinking in terms of checks and balances too. Anybody that's been through any kind of abusive situation, not as traumatic and dramatic, or even, whatever it may be. And we're going to go into what it is your movement is all about.
Yeah. Thank you.
But we need to be doing this. We need to be thinking in terms of, okay, self-care, spread the kindness. I love this. Stop the spread, yet, spread kindness instead. And we can look at what's happening these days, and things can trigger some people that have been traumatized, and you need to always be aware of that, be able to work through it, heal from it, and then not, if for some reason you do take a slide backwards, you need to not beat yourself up for it. And that is where also I want to bring this one up, and that is, it's time to release the shame.
Yeah, this is such a big one. I mean, I really believe that shame almost killed me, because remember I told you only 5 people knew in about 25 years, because I was just so embarrassed, hiding. And every woman I have spoken to has had that same feeling. And the shame is just about turning the blame on ourselves, judging ourselves, thinking that we're responsible, that if we just loved him more, if we could just have done this better. All of this thinking, stinking thinking, as you said, does us no good and just keeps us in our own mental prison.
And so you're now helping, and bring up a couple more. You have the best of it. I love these.
Yeah.
When you are kind to yourself, you'll be kinder to others, and that's how to spread it. And then, I love this. The little guys there. You deserve to be treated with kindness. We all deserve that. No one deserves what. And this is where now, if we can be breaking these cycles, if we can be bringing the awareness of July the 27th and Love is Kind Day, if we can be sharing this, then we can be educating our next generation, like in this image here, that this is the way to be treating each other.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my motto is, you deserve to be treated with kindness, because when I created the Love is Kind network and the Love is Kind movement, I was, it's all about me. It's like, what did I want? I wanted kindness. I just wanted to be treated with kindness. I didn't really want to talk about or have the center talk about abuse, even though that was the origin. It's like, what did I want? And I really truly believe that what you focus on grows. So if I focus on kindness, it will grow. And I will explain a lot of these things. So first of all, July 27th is the date my daughter and I arrived in the United States and got our freedom. So it's our Independence Day, right? And I want it to be an Independence Day for all of people who have been in abusive relationships, and for them to really believe that real love is kind. It's not terrorizing. It's supporting. It's not hurtful. It's caring. It's not cruel. It's embracing. So it's everything. And so you deserve to be treated with kindness, and it starts by being kind to yourself. And that's what this whole project is. So I've done like the 11 freedom fulfillment pillars to help everyone lead down to this path. I believe my goal is to create kinder intimate relationships, which will create kinder families, which will create kinder communities, which will create a kinder world. It's only a win-win. And nobody wants to be put down or demeaned or insulted or assaulted or live in fear, because real love is kind. It's not terrorizing.
No, you shouldn't have to have a taser in your pocket
for your own partner, right? And I'm talking women who have been in relationships maybe a year and they got like that, or 3 months. So it's not even time; it's the pattern.
Right. The cycling pattern.
Right. And to know you get sucked in it really fast.
Right.
And then they blame us, how could I be so stupid? Oh, I should have known. And the answer is no, you're not stupid. No, you should have known.
No. And that's where, thank goodness, there's a lot of education in regards to that now. There's a lot of therapy that it's been decided, that there's been a lot of movement going forward in that area, that there is the cycling, and there's the abuse, and there's the honeymoon period, and then there's and then it goes around again, and sometimes it cycles faster, sometimes it cycles slower, but it's like, oh, he'll never do that again.
Right. We make excuses. Yeah. That's a red flag in my book now. If you're making excuses for a relationship, it's like, oh, well, it's okay. That kind of thinking, that is such a huge red flag. You should never have to make excuses for your partner's behavior. If it is, that's something, it's just telling you that something is wrong. Right? In a healthy relationship, we don't do that. No. We don't need to do that.
No. And so you are getting your message out there. You're doing your broadcasting. You have your National Love is Kind Day. And here soon, you are even becoming a podcaster.
Yes, the Vulnerable to Valuable podcast, where I interview bright, successful women who have been in abusive relationships and have made a comeback and created an awesome life. And it took us all a lot of hard work, but I think, Tamra, that I tell women, you can fight and struggle to be in someone else's relationship where you are being put down, or you can fight and struggle to create your own life. Right. And I'm not saying like life is a struggle, but it's life, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat things either, but I'd rather just do it for my own life. I don't need to be put down on top of it.
No. And so I love this. Okay. Now you got a sense of humor, my dear. It's like, okay.
Because there was nobody was
trying to make it fun.
Was smiling, right? It's like, no.
Like, okay, no, I want to show that smile. So I thought that was just adorable. And then and then here we go, Miss Little Darling. It just so many wonderful things. So I did go and I did see that the two of you, here, I Love is Kind, okay, the episode. And then I did grab just some of the images off of your website, and that's where I saw your cup in your store. And so you do go out, you speak, at least when we could go out and speak.
Right.
And now you're doing the virtual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 27th, it is going to be a virtual day,
Right.
correct?
Yes. So I will be speaking Facebook Live. I haven't set all the times yet, but I'll be going on and off throughout the day. But the goal here is just to spread the message. So if people can just go to the Love is Kind movement page on Facebook, follow it, then share the post. Then on the 27th, just say you deserve to be treated with kindness. Just share and share as much as you can. Last year, we got into 8 countries and 23 states. So I want to go to every single state. I want to get into every single state and more than double the countries that are being impacted. You know, I was just reading this morning, Tamra, that 1 billion women have experienced or are still in a domestic abusive relationship. And that is physical violence, sexual violence. It doesn't include more of my case, right? And if you use that, the number goes up to 2.5 billion women. It doesn't include who are impacted. This is a major crisis. This affects more people than any other medical health issue.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just about to go there. And this is when last year I did make the public awareness, and now there's more people, and I'm going to do it again with my dear friend Rosie. And that is, I'm in that first group, the physical and sexual abuse. I was very, very, very much so. And nearly killed, and then ended up with cancer. Not an uncommon thing. Right. In fact, we talked about that when I was interviewed, because and so a lot of people, and I ended up with breast cancer, and it was primarily, and she'll be back in a moment, it was found on the left side. Anybody that does any of the studying on that is usually because of some type of stress. And so, do I talk about it a lot? No. However, it is something that we need to be aware of, because this is not only an epidemic, it's an epidemic that if we don't start really finding a way to win with the Love is Kind movement, they're going to need chemo buddies for life. And I hate putting it this way, but like Rosie said, life is life, and we need to be strong and look at it straight in the eye and say, okay, this is the facts, these are the facts, and we can win through this. We can win through this, and we can be there for each other, and we can embrace the fact that love is kind. We can go on the tour of love. We can raise the vibration of this world through that 4-letter word. She should be here any moment, I'm sure. And again, whenever it's a very important topic, this often happens. So I'm not surprised. I want to be very real in the fact that if you're watching or hearing this, and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is me, and I'm in the middle of it now. That awareness is a tough time. I remember when I finally got it myself. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what happened that day. I remember everything as though it was, I could go back in a time machine and go and watch it, because I remember it so distinctly. It's like the world became slower, and the events around that education became very clear. And here she is. And so if you're experiencing that right now, now she's not, she'll be back. If you're experiencing that, know this first. You'll get through it. It may not be easy, yet there is healing that takes place. I have survived, and now helping others. Rosie survived. She's helping others. Here she is. And I was just sharing as we were waiting for you to come back that
Yeah, I heard you.
okay. And
I didn't even know I was gone until you said I was gone.
oh yeah. And it doesn't surprise me, because whenever the energy is such that it is such an important topic, we have some issues. And today is such an important topic. And if someone is listening to this, can you tell them how they can become a part of the movement, get into your environment where it's a safe place and start being able to be supported, because you have people from all over the world with different culture, different belief systems, on and on and on, that are supporting each other.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They, for some reason, there's a double echo here, and I'm not sure why. Do you hear it?
Yeah, that's okay. It's probably because of the earbuds, but don't worry about it. We'll just keep going. It's not so bad for myself. I don't know about for our audience right now, but
it's like I have like twice.
Yeah, it's you. Oh, you may have two shows open right now.
Yeah, let me see if I can delete without deleting the other one.
Okay, she'll be back. And so, I'm going to put this up here because we talk about it a lot, the frequency of love, while we're waiting for her, and the hope that if you right now are in this, again, like I had said in the beginning, breathe. You're going to get some nervous moments, and you're going to feel as though the awakening is taking place. The hypersensitivity is at an all-time high. However, use that and calm your brain down, and whatever it is that you need to do to then be able to think clearly, and then think about who you can trust. Reach out through the Love is Kind movement. The Love is Kind movement, Rosie is amazing. She has been now supporting people, and the stories that she has, that and we don't have to go into any details of any of them, but you have people now, because you've been doing this long enough, that you've been there to support them through that awakening.
Oh yeah.
And then through the evolution of the decision, and then the escape.
And helping women who are out and want to now move forward. They feel kind of stuck because they don't have that belief in themselves anymore. And that's the whole thing, where it's just like, your life is worth it. You matter. You are worthy. And you may not believe it yet, but I'll believe it for you until you do, because that's the whole point about supporting. So you go to the Love is Kind movement in the Facebook group, and you can click on the event page and join and follow there. And I also have a group called the Love is Kind Women's Circle. That's where it's private, so we can be a little bit more freer with what we share. And I always want to make it a safe environment. You can go to bit.ly, bit.ly/FB for Facebook, Love Kind Day. That will get you directly to the Facebook group event page. Because you were talking about the health, and I tell you, Tamara, there has not been one woman who has not had a major medical health issue and has had abuse. And I don't think women are putting that together. And that's the thing I want to link, which you did. And that's why we're so aligned with our missions. I believe it into my bones.
Oh, me too.
So this is such a crisis on so many levels. goes on and on. You've got the medical issue, you've got the mental health issue, you have the children who are impacted and see this, and then it perpetuates itself. And that's why we need to disrupt this cycle and replace it with kindness. And wounded people will wound others. But we're not in charge of, we can't heal them by our love because it's not working. They have to
No. Yeah, right. And in truth, because I did seek a lot of therapy after. A lot of therapy. I've been through a lot, and it really did help. And there's different thoughts in regards to it all. But one of the things that really resonated with me through it all was that not only can you not heal that person, most likely they will never want to be healed.
Right.
And that was for me. Kind of like, are you kidding me? Because you have kids together and everything, and
Right.
and you want that for, if nothing else, that next generation.
Yeah.
And you have to let go.
Yeah.
And for your own health and the health of the next generations, you have to let go with love. You don't have to forgive, but you have to let go with love.
And you have to really love yourself.
Yes.
I think this is the path to really learning to be kind and love yourself, and to appreciate and not to judge yourself and put yourself down. And it's a journey. All I want to say is that it's a journey. Everyone's journey is different, but it's your life. This is your precious life. This is your life. You deserve to live it fully. It doesn't mean everyone's on a worldwide mission like I am. Just get on to mine or on to Tamara's, right? We need everybody. But you're worthy. You're absolutely worthy. And for me, and why I say real love is kind is because for some of us, I think many of us who've been in abusive relationships, love can be a triggering word, because love did not feel kind. It felt terrorizing. So it was like, I don't know about this love stuff here.
Well, I will say this, because I now am all about love, and now people will understand it more, and you are too. Love is kind. And when you finally get to that other side, because there is healing, and there is healing and going to that other side, that is when the emotion, and when people are probably saying, oh, I get it now. Now I understand why she's always talking about that word, because it's like, when you finally are on that other side and you really understand what true agape, unconditional love is, and that you're worthy of it and everyone else is. And sometimes you have to let go of people that are not going to be, they're toxic for you. But now you can understand that you can let go with love, and then say it's up to them to fix themselves. I don't have to be responsible for that any longer. And then you can then turn that mirror on yourself and say, okay, I love myself. I gave permission for that person to be an adult and find that love for themselves, or not. But whatever it may be, I choose to let go and let them find that journey and go on with love in my own life and share. And I love what you're doing. I'm going to take myself down from the line. I'm going to give you a moment in time here, Rosie, by yourself, to address everyone and give us a nugget, an inspirational thought, what you want people to just be focused just on you. And then I'll come back and we'll close out the show. Okay.
Okay. You're so sweet. Well, you can see Joy. I forget wherever the signs are behind me. Joy is behind me. And as I had mentioned earlier, when I was leaving, when I was planning my escape, I said to myself every day, hundreds of times a day, that my daughter and I deserve a happy and joyful life. I don't have to be a martyr. I have one life to live, and I want to live it. I mean, live it with all capital letters. And that was the driving force. So wherever you are in your life, I want you to remember always that as difficult as it seems to be, and we all have difficult moments, right? Whatever it is, we'll have ups and downs of our own, even if you're not in an abusive relationship or you're out or wherever you are in life. Know that as you grow, as you learn your lessons, whether you don't want to know, you think, oh, I don't want to learn this lesson, but God has a way of just really banging me on the head. That's at least how I get it, that you matter and you deserve to be treated with kindness. And you can get through this. Not alone. We're not saying alone. I didn't do any of this alone, and I couldn't have done it alone. But I'm here to support those who want to move forward after abuse, who's like, I don't feel I'm worthy. I want to help you. Those who feel shame, who feel they're not good enough, who want to find a kind love of their life when, if they were like me, they didn't think they could ever do that ever, which was my thought, because you're so hurt and you can't trust. This life is for living. So when you leave it, you can say, I did my best. I tried. I worked at my life. I worked on freedom. I worked on caring. Maybe not everybody got it, but I did me. I didn't have to hide and turn into a pretzel anymore to please somebody else. I could be me and they could love me. Wow, what a cool thought. And that's what I want to share. I just think what Tamara's doing is so amazing, and blessing this world with all the work that you do every single moment.
Well, thank you. Both of us have aligned missions, and we've talked about this before, and that's why I really wanted to get you back on, knowing that it was that time of year, and you are committed to make the day in your Independence Day, July the 27th, my mom's birthday. Yes. And so, and I explained that to you last year, is that it's like, it's not a surprise to me that would be such an important day, that I would remember it too, because like you say, it's your Independence Day. And I remember my Independence Day. I remember it, like, that date, that day will always, will always be with you. But I have adopted yours because of this whole movement.
Yeah, right.
And I'm proud to say that I believe that love is kind, and that we need to let others know. And if you know of anyone, many times you have a feeling, right? You have a feeling that someone may be in a situation like this. They may never have disclosed it because they may not feel as though they're safe to do that. But if you have a suspicion, what should they do, Rosie?
Just, what I know for sure, 100%, there is a woman in your circle who is suffering from this, and she's suffering mostly from shame. So what I know is just like, hey, I heard about this, and I believe in love is kind, and I'm just sharing it with all my friends. She'll come around, and, I think I'm going to join this group, and I'm going to join this movement. And, I think it's a great movement because we're helping the world become kinder. And if you approach it like that, because she may not realize what even the trademarks of abuse are. So she doesn't know. She just knows she doesn't feel right. Something feels off. That's how I was. Because we can't judge somebody, and we can't tell them when it's time to leave. Again, I waited decades before I could leave, but I made that choice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so just come to the movement, send her to my page, send her to the movement, and just have her join in, and because you're doing it. And then she doesn't feel like she's being pushed and pointed at, like, well, I think something's wrong with you.
Right. And
listen.
And in truth, she'll go to her normal self, and that is supporting others before supporting herself. And if she's supporting you, that's going to feel familiar. And so then it might be that aha moment will take place. in this safe place. I just absolutely adore you. I am so excited to be highlighting to you today as the service hero that you are such an inspiration to so many people, Rosie. I mean, anybody that knows you knows that your heart is genuine, your story is real, your determination now to help people throughout the world, men and women, because you go to her platform, she doesn't forget them. And there is hope for those that are going through this, and she doesn't leave them alone. Like, there
Yeah,
are
men. Yeah, I have a lot of men in the Love is Kind movement page.
yeah. So I want to respect you for that too. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. And as we close today, the Service Hero Show, 365 Days of Awesome, celebrate success through service on July the 13th, 2020. Here soon on July the 27th, 2020, it will once again be your Independence Day, and you will be celebrating it with many throughout the world. I will be celebrating it with you, and I hope many of you here watching this will be celebrating it too. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Always is. I love you, and tell your daughter I love her too. And anybody that is from our group, tonight is Monday, usually Magic Monday. However, we are continuing a discussion that we started last Tuesday with Skip Thomas and Aaron Morrison. That will be taking place in our closed group. Yes, another safe place. You have to join the group Chemo Buddies for Life community. We ask two things: what takes place there stays there, and yes, it is a safe place. And so we share humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a lot of love. Join us tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. All right. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.